relationships, collecting, materialism, all the gadgets of life, I guess, all the things we're taught by marketing that we ought, should and want to have, because then we feel better about ourselves. But when I learned over the years, no amount of material acquisition, be it money, things, it never made any difference. It didn't actually make me feel better, it just made me wonder where to store it all. So we go into crazy behaviour of filling cupboards full of things we don't use for years. And I'm in the process of undoing some of those things, because even though I've only been here for a short while where I live now, I seem to be accumulating stuff as fast as I can, and I ought to stop it. So, recovery, addiction is a very serious subject, and addiction kills most people. It's very few people who actually get into recovery and find a way to stick with it, and I was one of those. So often swearing off drink because it gave me a headache, or at least a feeling of complete disassociation and detachment from reality. And that's what I wanted. I wanted oblivion from reality, often when things were going wrong. And often when work made so much stress in my life, I just wanted to relax. So there was joyfulness and conviviality, and then dependence. And after 2 reasonably successful careers, I fell off the career ladder into a pit of despair with a nervous breakdown. And probably that saved my life, or put me on a new course of action, which was even more despair and desolation, and a realization that depression was something that I was going to have to deal with on a daily basis. But it took a while, and when we're in depression we look to medicate or self-medicate ourselves out of harm and feeling awful. And of course alcohol provides oblivion, so we lose touch with reality and life gets completely unmanageable. And often we think we ought to go back to doing the same old thing again. So there was a part of me which wanted the big career back in some capacity or other, and I realised it was an impossibility because the breaking of me had changed me, and to go back to where I was would have required diligence far beyond my capacity, and I guess going back to a life which I couldn't actually enjoy, because I never enjoyed it really in the way that it was meant to be, whatever that was. So I've learned a lot about life changing, and a fellowship has helped me find sobriety on a daily basis, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. My family, friends and people who help me, and professionals, helped me find that moment of clarity to say, I can't do it on my own, maybe it can't get any worse, but it did, and to try change my attitude and behaviour and put some action in it. And I guess action is the key word for me today. And I've been studying a bit of research about quotes, and also looking at the Daily Reflections book, which is part of the AA literature or fellowship literature, to help me calibrate what am I going to do today and how am I going to approach it. So what is AA? I share the AA preamble and statement of intent because it slows me down into the moment of now, and it's about sharing experience, strength and hope of what is AA and what's happening, and why life works today in recovery, and not drinking, and not absolutely obsessing over having the next right thing, more to do with doing, acting, or doing something which is the next right thing. So the AA preamble goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. What a gift to be able to help other people, put some action in, and as a result we give it away to keep it, we help other people, and it helps us develop our own wisdom of how to live our lives. It's not saying you ought to do it this way, it's actually just saying we've done it this way and it didn't work very well, or we've done it that way and it seems to work a little bit better. So that's what fellowship is. It's a mutual support of each other and also challenging each other using the tools of the programme, which is to have a sponsor who can challenge what we're up to an extent, to do with the steps, and to learn how to do this 12-step action programme, which is suggesting that we need to change our attitude and behaviour on a daily basis. You know, if we start to think that we've actually got it cracked and we don't need to do any more action to change ourselves, then we're deluded, because every day produces more action and more wisdom and more learning. And it's about we change, not the rest of the world. We're powerless over everything else. All we need to do is change ourselves and look at our attitude and behaviour and see what we can do to the good and the next right thing. So it's good. Daily reflections today. In this book it's all about 12 steps, and each month covers one of them. So this month is all about a higher power restoring us to sanity. And it says here, for February the 25th, the challenge of failure. In God's economy, no matter what you believe God to be, it's a good way of describing it. In God's economy, nothing is wasted. Through failure, we learn a lesson in humility, which is probably needed, painful though it is. In other words, we've got to get right-sized, which is just human, same size as everybody else. We're not more important than anybody else. We're not special and different, but we are unique and authentic on our path. That's where we are. How thankful I am today to know that all my past failures were necessary for me to be where I am now. Through much pain came experience, and in suffering I became obedient. When I sought God, as I understand Him, He shared His treasured gifts. Through experience and obedience, growth started, followed by gratitude. Yes, then came peace of mind, living and sharing sobriety. And when it says there for me, He shared His treasured gifts, well, you know, my understanding of God is just mine, and God, for me, God is truth. So if I can access the truth, I've got a good starting point. God is love, as Gandhi said. Love is the most important part of living, and the truth. And how do we get the truth? Well, God works through people. So if I can listen to the wisdom of others, I've got a fighting chance that maybe today might work. And be a part of, not bigger, not smaller, not trying to control it, but just see how my choices develop based on what I'm learning on a daily basis. And some quotes which I picked up this morning, and I've added to them here. Start and restart our days. New actions, new attitudes, new behaviour. André Gide, he said, everything has been said before, but since nobody listens, we have to keep going back and beginning all over again. Practice makes for progress as sober sanity develops. What we do differently is what's key, not others. And I've got a bit more time. Good. Yeah, Benjamin Franklin. Well, my bit first was, sanity returns as we put our action into new life experiences. And it can be slow, slow, quick, quick, slow. And what Benjamin Franklin said, experience keeps a dear school, but we fools will learn no other way. Yeah, I was very foolish. Didn't know any other way to learn. Look back at the madness, don't stare today, is where we are. Action to the good of living is key. And deeper understanding of ourselves and others takes time. Randolph Bourne said, few people even scratch the surface, much less exhaust the contemplation of their own experience. New ways to take on meaning and substance is what we are. We might have wished it different. Now we understand from torment to acceptance, and changing, always putting in the action, is so important. And I'm slowly running out of time. So that acceptance, that serenity prayer to acceptance, no matter what our God or good conscience, it's our understanding. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today. A bit late in the day doing my video, all about recovery from either addiction to substance or behaviour. My addiction to substance was alcohol, my behaviour, addictive behaviour, workaholic mainly, trying to be perfect and never so. And what have I learned over the last couple of days? I've been missing off YouTube and very busy with a lot of things to do with changing medications and trying to make sure I'm doing the right thing, looking after myself, one day at a time. And part of my meditation and reflection is to do a video, and sometimes life just overwhelms us and we've got too much to do, or not enough time to concentrate and calm down enough into the moment of now just to make sense of what is going on. So part of my reflections on a daily basis are to share my experience, strength and hope as I get in the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was just searching around for this little card, and on it has the message shared at the beginning of every meeting of the fellowship I go to, and I share it here simply to get some context and understanding of what these videos are here to do for my reflection and to share experience, strength and hope. I don't speak for AA, no one does. It's a fellowship of equal-sized humans, all unique and authentic, all doing one thing only when they go to meetings, finding how to stay sober one day at a time. So the preamble goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And yesterday I got interrupted whilst I was trying to get on with a video, and was invited to go to a different venue of the fellowship for that particular lunchtime up in Portobello, and it's at the what used to be called the Lazy Daisy Cafe, or the upstairs facilities there, and it's a meeting of experience, strength and hope, simply that, somebody sharing what they know about life today and what makes it work. And the person sharing had decades of sobriety, and actually the aim really is just for one day, but it's surprising, time goes by fairly quickly, and that was good to be a part of. And then later I needed to do some necessary servicing of my bicycle. It's the only form of transport that I can rely on to get me from A to B with least pain of all, because walking hurts, and certainly trying to get anywhere on public transport is limiting, and it leaves me exhausted. So this transformation, if you like, from different medications to do with type 1 diabetic control and pain management, and also clinical depression, and how to get the best I can from whatever it is that they're utilising from the professional side to support me. This is time consuming, and not only was I trying to get my bike serviced yesterday, I was also trying to get some essential biosensor strips which are for blood sugar testing. I inject insulin about 4 times a day, and I need to test my blood sugars very regularly at the moment, and I'd come down to nil. I'd run out of stock, and unfortunately for me, the chemist cannot just dish them out to me. I need to get a prescription, and it wasn't on the current one, and I then had to go to the doctors this morning, back to the chemists, got the wrong ones, had an emergency supply given to me, and then off for a clinician appointment at the hospital, and then an appointment with my psychiatrist. And the outcome is I've been checking everything daily about my situation, the medications I take, my blood sugar, the amount of insulin I'm taking, the impact it has on my mood, the impact it has on me physically. And obviously with changes, there's a lot of pain about, and they say that pain is the touchstone of spiritual growth. Well, sometimes it's just blinking painful. I'm not complaining, it's just the way it is. And if I didn't share the truth, I wouldn't be doing what I feel I ought to be doing. Or I could be doing here on YouTube, which is just trying to tell the truth. For me, spiritually is finding the truth of now, and when it's difficult I need to say so. So emotionally it's been a roller coaster, and that's because there's been lots of change. Physically it's also a roller coaster, because changes in medication impact heavily on blood sugars, how they go up and down, and it's erratic, so it's been very, very difficult. So I've been experiencing hypos, all things which are just part of my life. What makes it possible? Simply staying with the fellowship and getting some experience, strength and hope on a daily basis. And when I'm not in meetings or when I'm sharing on YouTube, I tend to use the Daily Reflections, which is one of the publications which is available via the fellowship, giving a daily reading of inspiration, I guess. And for February 25th, this is what it says. It says, the challenge of failure. In God's economy, nothing is wasted. Through failure, we learn a lesson in humility which is probably needed, painful though it is. And that comes from another book called As Bill Sees It, and it's in this one, page 31. And it goes on to say, how thankful I am today to know that all my past failures were necessary for me to be where I am now. Through much pain then came experience, and in suffering I became obedient. When I sought God, as I understand Him, He shared His treasured gifts. Through experience and obedience, growth started, followed by gratitude. Yes, then came peace of mind, living in and sharing sobriety. And for me, as I keep saying over and over again, I have my understanding of God, and everybody else is entitled to theirs as well. So for me, God is truth, God works through people, God is love. And obedience to me is actually finding routines of behaviour which improve my life rather than undermine it. So I need to be very careful with my daily routines to do with my spiritual well-being, trying to tell the truth to myself first and carry that message to other people, and also trying to tell the truth to other people when I'm not very well, so they may help me. And one of the outstanding characteristics, it is said, of any alcoholic is that they are stubborn and defiant and want to be okay, and put on a brave face, and to an extent utilise ego to cover up the fear of not being quite adequate. And you know what? People keep saying you are adequate, you're learning, you're growing in some ways, and you're coping with quite a lot of things. So recovery, type 1 diabetes and clinical depression, my triumvirate, if you like, of things to deal with or cope with. So the last 2 days has been difficult, and as I say, necessary to get my brakes fixed properly on my bicycle and make sure it's roadworthy so I can get about, even though the distance I'm travelling on it seems to have diminished a little bit, and that's just because pain is with me. Anyway, as Bill sees it, this one, it says pipeline to God. I'm a firm believer in both guidance and prayer, but I'm fully aware and humble enough, I hope, to see there may be nothing infallible about my guidance. The minute I figure I've got a perfectly clear pipeline to God, I have become egotistical enough to get into real trouble. Nobody can cause more needless grief than a power driver who thinks he has got it straight from God. In other words, we need other people to share their experience, strength and hope, so we get their wisdom as much as anything. And you know, it is the collective wisdom of a fellowship which keeps me on track one day at a time. And I went to a meeting at lunchtime, in between the doctor, the clinician, the psychiatrist, a meeting, and then being able to go collect the new medicines I need to help me with my depression. Pain relief is some way off. So it's been busy and out and about, and exhaustion comes on me quite quickly. I need to be very careful. So why do I do these videos? And the simple answer is, it slows me down into the moment of now, trying to experience what the truth is around me, for me and other people, so I can be helpful, share my wisdom for what it is. And as to a pipeline to God, I guess the pipeline is the unified wisdom that we learn from other people, and if we share the truth of where we are now, be it good or bad or indifferent, then we have a better understanding of what is possible and what is not possible. So the serenity prayer to whatever God of your understanding, which goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, is so practical and important. I hope I never underestimate its value.
Don in London, good evening, and all about AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supported through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I say that at the beginning of these videos because it's an AA daily. And I don't speak for AA because AA doesn't have any leaders. I speak for myself and what impact AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, has on me. And I'm glad. It's been a good day. And a couple of weeks ago I agreed to do a chair up in Notting Hill. And Notting Hill is really a hill. It is from Chelsea anyway. And I managed to get there on my bicycle because it seemed like a challenge, and I did. So not only did I get to Notting Hill by bicycle, I actually did the chair, and I saw lots of people I hadn't seen for quite a while, and one in particular who helped me when I was just put into a hostel and had absolutely nothing, no plates, nothing. And they came with another person, provided some plates, some knives and forks, tea towels, things like that, some mugs, and did it with absolute generosity. And it was good to see them. They were making the tea. And then I saw one or two other people, and it seemed to me like it was a meeting meant for me to meet people I know. So, great stuff. And being allowed to do a share in a different place with many people who I don't know, and a lot of out-of-towners from Berkshire today. And I talked to them after the meeting, and I also bumped into them tonight at my other AA meeting at Eaton Square. And they weren't able to stay because it was coming up for 9 o'clock and people had to get home for children. But it was good to see them again, and they'd had a real journey around London to different meetings. They'd been to Hines Street, and they'd found another meeting where there was a Step 8 chair, which is about making amends, making a list of amends we can make, and being willing to make them. That's just the list part, it's not the actual amends part. We have to make the list first and then see how we're going to deal with it, and best dealt with a sponsor, I have found. So, what a day. And then to hear a very good chair tonight from somebody else who I'm getting to know just gradually. And then another share from somebody who's been away on a trip to get in contact with family and make life work again. So in many ways it's been a very good day for me. And in addition to that, I was up at 4 in the morning. Don't know why. I went to bed early last night, and I got about 4 or 5 hours sleep in one go, which is very unusual for me. So something's working, and I'll be going to see my sponsor in the morning as well. So I'm very connected to AA this last few days, and it's helped me deal with some difficult things I've got to do for government forms, and trying to find the truth of me and where I am with everything. So sometimes it's hard to deal with our own truth and find our honesty. And the problem for me in my honesty is about denial of what ails me. And being in recovery as an alcoholic, also having clinical depression and also having type 1 diabetes, it can be a bit of a tall order to admit and accept everything that means and impacts for me. And sometimes I'm not as good as I may be in dealing with it. But these last few days, seeing people over the years, recent years, just making each day work as best they can, keeping on coming back when it's been difficult and they've been out for a convincer or a bit more research, or embracing alcohol again. I feel lucky that I've stuck with the program and just persevered with great support from my family. So I'm a lucky person. So in the big picture, life ain't so bad. So coming on to the daily reflections for tomorrow, 24th of February, AA's book, Daily Reflections, written by AA people, for AA people, February the 24th. A thankful heart, sounds like me. I try to hold fast with the truth that a full and thankful heart cannot entertain great conceits, When brimming with gratitude, one's heartbeat must surely result in outgoing love, the finest emotion that we can ever know, as Bill sees it, page 37. My sponsor told me that I should be grateful, a grateful alcoholic, and always have an attitude of gratitude, that gratitude has the basic ingredient of humility, that humility was the basic ingredient of anonymity, and that anonymity was the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us that to place principles before personalities. As a result of this guidance, I start every morning on my knees, thanking God for three things. I'm alive, I'm sober, and I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Then I try to live an attitude of gratitude and thoroughly enjoy another 24 hours of the AA way of life. AA is not something I join, it's something I live. And as you know from my videos, you will know that my understanding of spiritual is truth, and truth for me is God. So what anonymity affords us in the rooms of AA is sanctuary to find the truth and how to be honest. And humility is the antonym of pride, if I've got that right. I think it is. So with humility I do these videos, and they're not about grandiosity, they're about sharing a message of experience, strength and hope. So whilst in most respects I respect everything to do with AA, the traditions and the spiritual path, I do question, and honestly I do question it every day, what is anonymity about? And for me it is the sanctuary to find the truth of life, our spiritual path. And it's not bigger than anything else, it's living life normally and being right-sized, no bigger, no smaller than anyone else. Anyway, coming on to As Bill Sees It, this book. All the readings I give are freely available on the internet, so just put in a search engine, AA readings for the day. Page 82, Trouble Becomes an Asset. I think that this particular General Service Conference holds promise and has been filled with progress, because it has had trouble, and it has converted the trouble into an asset, into some growth, and into some great promise. AA was born out of trouble, one of the most serious kinds of trouble that can befall an individual. The trouble attendant upon this dark and fatal malady of alcoholism. Every single one of us approached AA in trouble, in impossible trouble, in hopeless trouble, and that is why we came. If this conference was ruffled, if individuals were deeply disturbed, I say that is fine, or this is fine. What a parliament, what a republic, what democracy has not been disturbed? Friction of opposing viewpoints is the very modus operandi on which they proceed. Then what should we do? What should we be afraid of? And the answer is, if we're not afraid of the truth, then we find it. So, and you know, if we were all the same, it wouldn't work. And if we all had the same views, it wouldn't work, because nothing would change. So I think and I feel mostly that it's important to understand our viewpoints and realise that with spiritual paths, there are 6.5 billion people on this planet, and each has their own, and each is equally important. We do our best. The 24-hour day book from Hazelden, and I'm just plugging it because I find it useful. It's not authorised by AA, but it is written by an AA person. When we came to our first AA meeting, we looked up at the wall at the end of the room and saw a sign, "But for the grace of God." We knew right then and there that we would have to call upon the grace of God in order to get sober and get over our soul sickness. We heard speakers tell how they had come to depend on a power greater than themselves. That made sense to us, and we made up our minds to try it. Am I depending on the grace of God to help me stay sober? Well, as truth is God for me, and that's what Gandhi suggested. God is truth. I try my best on a daily basis to make it work just one day at a time. And that is it. The spiritual foundation is in this one moment of now, moving ever onwards, the ever-present moment of now. And long may it be so.